In progress.
From the streets to the boardroom, Generation Z leadership training, a new school, next generation approach. This program emerged from young voices in East Tampa, West Tampa, Progress Village, Grand Park, and Sulphur Springs. In fact, other areas are joining in, demanding to become neighborhood change agents. Housing insecurity, economic disinvestment, and political exclusion requires bold solutions. Over our 12-week program, our 12-week program shifts youth from what is to what if, from survive, from surviving in marginalized communities to building empowered ones with transformation strategies. Program structure. So this is a 12 weeks of transformation, generational training. Over the next 12 weeks, young people from these areas that we talked about will learn about affordable housing and community, affordable housing development. They will learn about community organizing and design, grassroots mobilizing and organizing, economic and community development, negotiation mastery, critical thinking, and evidence-based leadership training. We're going to talk a little bit about that in just a minute. Anti-gentrification strategies and political insights are among the topics that will be discussed. We're starting off our workshop with these young people with critical thinking, logic, and logic fallacies. A workshop for Generation Z. So my name is Michael Randolph, and I'm with the Center for Community and Community Development. And if you want to learn more about us, please email us at the Center for Nonprofit and Community Development. Today I want to do a brief, well, I'm not going to say a brief, kind of brief, presentation on critical thinking. That will be part of our curriculum for the young people that are going to be taking out training. But because this particular curriculum is so important to everyday thinking, I'm going to present this presentation to the general population. So let's start with a definition of critical thinking. Critical thinking is the objective analysis and evaluation of an issue to form a judgment. The key component is analyze, evaluation, and reasoning. Why critical thinking matters for Generation Z? Okay, let's jump into it. First, it improves leadership and decision making. Critical thinking enables leaders to analyze situations, objectively consider multiple perspectives, and make well-informed decisions that benefits their team and community. It helps negate misinformation. In the digital age, the ability to distinguish between reliable information and misleading contents is critical for the effective leadership and responsible seniorship. In the area of rapid technological changes and information overload, critical thinking has become more important than ever for the emerging Generation Z leaders face unique and challenges that require sophisticated thinking skills. Promote thoughtful and informed action rather than acting on Rather than acting on impulse or emotion, critical thinking take the time to gather information, evaluate options, and consider consequences being before they take action. And finally, strengthen community impact. Leaders who think critically can identify root causes of problems, develop innovative solutions, and create lasting positive change in their community. Definition of logic. Well, logic is a systematic study of valid rules of inference and reason. It's supported by it supports sound reasoning by providing structures to arguments. Let's talk about it. How do we use it in everyday life? Well, for one thing, we use it to make fair decisions in group settings. Second, we use it to evaluate, and we use it in evaluating the pros and cons of new initiatives. Thirdly, we use it to resolve conflicts and reasons and resolve conflicts with reasons instead of emotion. And then finally, planning events with clear steps by step thinking. Introduction to logical fallacies. What is a fallacy? A logic fallacy is a far and thinking and reasoning that weakens an argument. Fallacies can be either intentional, used to manipulate or deceive, we know all about that, or it can be unintentionally, resulting from poor reasoning skills. Understanding fallacies is critical because they can mislead others and damage credibility. Recognizing fallacies help build strong arguments and protect against manipulation. So let's talk about the different types of fallacy, starting with ad hominem. I hope I'm pronouncing that word right. Anyway, this is attacking the person instead of the argument. For example, you can't trust their opinion on climate change because she failed science in school. Straw man. Misrepresenting someone's judgment to make it easy to attack. For example, you want to reduce school hours, so you just want kids. Well, an example would be you want to reduce school hours, so you just want kids to be uneducated. Nothing has nothing to do with the other. Again, be very careful about this particular fallacy because it happens every day. False dilemma. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Anyway, this particular fallacy presents two options as if it's the only possibility. For example, either you're with us or against us. How many times have we heard that? Pay attention, young people. Slippy slope. In this definition, the definition of this is augment one small step will lead to a chain of negative events. For example, if you allow phones in classes, the next thing you know, no one will study. This is a fallacy. And then next, critical circular reasoning. Here, the conclusion is included in the premise. For example, I'm trustworthy because I tell the truth. Watch out for this fallacy, circular reasoning. Hasty generalizations. Another fallacy. This is making a broad claim based on limited evidence. Here's an example. One student was rude, so all teens are disrespected. how we reach that particular conclusion. Like one black person stole, therefore all black people steal. Bandwagon appeal. Bandwagon appeal. We all know about this. This is arguing something is true or right because everyone else does it. For example, everyone is skipping the meeting, so it must not be that important. Red herring. Okay, this is introducing irrelevant information to distract from the real issue. Why worry about recycling when there are people starving? Pay attention to this particular fallacy. We hear it all the time. It is illogical. And the next generation of thinkers are going to be based on evidence base. The idea of trust but verify. And then appeal to emotion. We hear this a lot. Well, by appeal to emotion, we mean manipulating emotions instead of using valid reasons. Here's an example. If you care about your friends, you agree with me. This is an appeal to emotion. A lot of times we hear people appealing to emotions instead of to the facts. The facts are the facts. And Generation Z leaders are leaders that uses a evidence-based approach to making decisions. Post hoc fallacy. Post hoc fallacy. I'm pronouncing it right. If not, it's there for you to read it correctly. This is assuming that because one thing happened after another, that it was caused by it. A lot of people commit this fallacy. Here's an example. I wore my lucky socks and we won the game. One has nothing to do with the other. Pay attention to this one. This fallacy is committed. That's why I say, folks, listen to what I'm saying. Believe only a small percent of what you hear, unless you're able to prove it to be factual. A call to action for generation leaders. As emerging leaders in an increasing complex world, Generation Z has both the opportunity and responsibility to champion clear thinking and logical reasoning. The skills covered in this workshop form the foundation for an effective leadership and positive social change. Your mission as a generation leader includes lead with logic and clarity. Set an example by making decisions based on evidence and sound reason rather than emotion and popularity. Challenge assumptions and seek truth. Question conventional wisdom. Question conventional wisdom, verify information, and be willing to change your mind and when presented with compelling evidence. Use critical thinking to create positive change. Apply these skills to solve real problems in your communities and continue to be meaningful and contribute to meaningful progress. Be a role model for thoughtful leadership. Demonstrate that young leaders can be both passionate and rational, combining emotional intelligence with logic reasoning, with logic rigid. Finally, the future needs leaders who can think clearly, argue effectively, and solve problems creatively. As a Gen Z leaders, you have the tools. Now it's time to use them to make a better world. Again, this is part of a 12-week course in which Generation X will go through. I'm using this to share with this general community because it's time that we start to think critically. There's so much misinformation that's out there every day from your so-called leaders. Don't base your information on emotions, base it on evidence. Be evidence-based. Trust, but verify. If that's one thing you learn from this presentation. Again, those of you that are going to be selected for the class, this is going to be part of a 12-week workshop on changing the narrative and creating the next leadership to change the narrative.